welcome to the Real Estate Investors Market Update for Sarasota and Manatee County for February of 2025. My name is Rob Drum. I'm the broker and owner of Blue Elephant Property Management, where we specialize in managing residential investment properties in Sarasota and Manatee County. I do this market update every month to keep clients and investors and friends updated on what's going on here in our local market, as well as some color on capital markets nationally. And I like to keep it quick, so let's get going on the Sarasota County numbers for February. Year over year, we see a 26% increase in active listings on the market. 6,500, that's about 500 more than were available last month. Sales in February were down almost 10%. That contrasts to January, where sales were actually up about 10% year over year. Average sold price is down. Median sold price is also down, but both of these numbers are down year over year, a little bit less than we saw in January. Average days to sell are higher. Median days to sell are also higher, but again, less of a jump higher. So hopefully things are starting to stabilize. Months of inventory are sitting at 10 months, which is definitely buyer's market territory. Hopefully we can reach back towards a balanced market in the 6 months of inventory range later this year. Manatee County, very similar numbers. Active listings up 26%. Sales down in contrast to last month as well. Average sold price, median sold price also down year over year. Did see median days to sell actually were lower than the previous year. I think that's a good sign, and hopefully that will continue into this year and start to pull prices back towards the positive range and the change on days to sell towards the negative range, or at least kind of neutral. I pulled these numbers from the St. Louis Fed, and they're the permit data for Sarasota, Northport, and Bradenton. And in January, they are a month behind on these numbers. So the January numbers were 1,470 starts. That's 469 more than last January and 395 more than December. And I take this data, it's very messy, but I trend it. So I compare it to the previous year, and then I trend it over 6 months to get a chart that's a little more smooth and hopefully meaningful, and should be a measure of momentum in home builder starts. It takes 6 to 12 months for home builders to build a home. So they need to have kind of a crystal ball, or at least some idea of where they think things are going. And if this starts to trend higher, hopefully they're feeling optimistic, and that hopefully they know what they're doing. 30-year mortgage rates last month were down about 1/4 of a point. And this is a openly stated objective of the new presidential administration, that they want to push the 10-year Treasury interest rate down, which is what 30-year mortgage interest rates are most closely tied to. So they're openly aiming to push mortgage interest rates down, and it looks to be working. Hopefully that will continue as we get into this year. I also watched the yield curve, just because this is where the biggest investors in the world are investing. They all own treasuries, trade treasuries around their interest rate expectations. And not a whole lot interesting with the shape of the yield curve between the 2s and the 10s, but the 2-year interest rate did drop last month from about 4.2 to a little below 4, which is signaling that investors are expecting interest rates over that time period to drop. So I was curious what the markets are saying interest rates are going to do on the shorter term rates, like the Fed funds rate. There's a meeting this week. The expectation is that there's only a 3% chance of cutting interest rates. But in June, there's a 90% chance roughly of cutting interest rates, and by July, they're expecting a 95% chance that the short-term rates for the Fed will be lower. So that's the expectation as of now, as predicted by the CME Fed Watch tool. I also pulled rental data from Zillow. I don't think this is the greatest data. It's kind of messy, but I am going to track it over time, and hopefully it'll be useful. There's the number of available rentals, I think, is something that watching over time, you can get some pretty good information. That's how many listings are sitting on Zillow available to rent. You can see year over year, rents have gone down across all 3 cities that they track. Days on market are at a pretty high number right now, and you can get an idea of what average rents are. And all these numbers are only for houses. So that's it for today. My name is Rob Drum, and I do this every month. I'd love to know what you would like to see, if there's any stats I could dig up. I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel. You can also subscribe to the newsletter. I'll send you this video every month. There should be a link to it below this video. Thank you, and I'll see you next month.